Today, I'm going to rank every Red Dead Redemption 2 county in a tier list, starting from the worst counties and going all the way up to the best counties. 99% of my viewers are unsubscribed, so if you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe, as I'll be posting tier lists every single day. In last place, I got Rio Bravo. Rio Bravo is cool from a geography standpoint, but there's nothing else going on in the county, and I think there's just not much to do. There's Fort Mercer, which you can take out and you can take from the Del Lobo gang. There's also like Plainview, but most of the stuff that's cool there is all added in Red Dead Redemption 1, and they didn't add enough in Red Dead Redemption 2 to really make it that interesting. So it's gonna have to go in last place in D tier. In 14th place, I've got Cumberland Forest. Cumberland Forest is kind of cool as well geography-wise, but there's as well nothing going on here. There's Fort Wallace, which I guess is kind of cool. You can shoot at them, but they're always just going to attack you. There's Bacchus Station, which is kind of cool, where the bridge was that you blew up, but there's really nothing going on here that's that special, and I don't really think anything in Cumberland Forest really puts me over the top. I feel like it's just kind of a generic forest that has a cool couple geography points, but there's nothing really amazing that wants me to go back here, so it's going to be a D tier as well. In 13th place, I've got Bluewater Marsh. Again, there's some cool geography points, but I think it's just so boring. I guess Siska Pentry is technically a part of it, and the river and all that, but there's not really much going on here, and I feel like they just had Bluewater Marshes, this tiny area, compared to Bayou Nwa and just anything else in Lemoyne. I think it's just such a small part of Lemoyne, and in there's nothing really that interesting going on. So I think I also have to put it in D tier. In 12th place, I've got Cholla Springs. There are some cool things with like Armadillo here, and I kind of like the geography, but again, New Austin doesn't really have anything that I need to do, and Armadillo is also not really that interesting, at least in Red Dead Redemption 2, so I think this is also a pretty bad area. There are some cool areas here with like Twin Rocks, Two Crows are also pretty cool, but nothing in here is that special that you have to go back to it again. And I just think it's a pretty boring location, so I'm gonna have to put in C tier, but that's just helped by Armadillo. In 11th place, I've got Gaptooth Ridge. I think Gaptooth Ridge is a little bit better than Cholla Springs just because Tumbleweed, I feel like, is a little bit more interesting, and this mine is kind of cool, and there's Rathskeller's Fork, which I feel like are all pretty interesting areas. But again, with this one and Armadillo and just New Austin in general, there's not really that much interesting going on, and I can't put it any higher than C tier because there's really nothing going on besides Tumbleweed and a couple like other kind of interesting things. Rockstar just didn't pimp this area out enough for what I think it should be. In 10th place, I've got Hennigan Stead. I think there are a couple cooler things in Hennigan Stead than any of the other New Austin's plays, like this bridge glitch right here. This is one of the coolest things in all of Red Dead Redemption 2 that you can still do to this day, but I don't really think there's that much going on. McFarland's Ranch and Thieves Landing both became way cooler in Red Dead Redemption 1, and I feel like a lot of the cool things that go on here aren't that interesting. I feel like the geography is a lot more interesting than the rest of New Austin because it's kind of varied, and it kind of, reflects the rest of the country in this game at least, but I don't think there's really that much going on in Hennigan Stead, so I'm also going to have to put this one in C tier. In 9th place, I've got the Great Plains. Again, this one is not really that interesting. Like, Blackwater is really cool. Beecher's Hope is also there, but there's not much going on. It's just a really small province or county, whatever you want to call it, compared to everything else in Red Dead Redemption 1 and Red Dead Redemption 2. There's not much going on here. It's just kind of a big flat plains area, which is kind of the whole name of the province, but I don't know, there's just not much going on here besides Blackwater, and while Blackwater is really cool in both Red Dead Redemption 1 and Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the coolest towns in the entire game, I don't really think it can help Great Plains to be any higher because there's not that cool of geography and there's not that much going on here besides Blackwater, so it's also going to have to be in the C tier. In 8th place, I've got Tall Trees. Tall Trees is pretty interesting. I really like the Skinner brothers, and I just totally like the geography here. Every time I go through here, it's just a very beautiful, beautiful site. I love the geography here, and I just think everything going on in Tall Trees is very beautiful, but there's not that much going on here. It is cool to like hunt things in there, like the grizzly bears and elks, and it's like cool for the Master Hunters area, but there's not really that much going on in Red Dead Redemption 2. They kind of do pimp it out during Red Dead Redemption 1 with like Manzanita Post and Cochine, which definitely helps it out there. But I just think in Red Dead Redemption 1, while it is a very, very beautiful area, there's not enough going on here where I have to be like, oh my God, this is a great area. So I'm going to have to put it in B tier. In 7th place, I've got Roanoke Ridge. I think Roanoke Ridge is actually a lot cooler than it seems. You know, it is this kind of gray and dreary area, but the mountains are pretty cool. I think Beaver Hollow is actually an okay camp, and I really love the flora and fauna all the way in the top of the province where you meet like Marco Dragic and his area and Charlotte the Widow. So I think those places are all really cool, but I think Annesburg and Van Horn are definitely some lower tier towns. I don't think they're really that interesting. They're kind of this gray, dreary vibe area. And I don't really like Annesburg at all because of that especially. So I don't really like the towns of this area, but I think the flora and fauna and the whole geography of this area is just amazing. And I think that really brings it up from like a C tier, which is Annesburg and Van Horn, to like a B tier with everything else because it's all just so beautiful. In 6th place, I've got the Grizzlies West. I think the Grizzlies West is also a very beautiful area, but I don't really like the snow that much, and I think Coulter was kind of a little bit of wasted potential. I wish there was something here, like at least a little camp or a little, settlement here where you could at least interact with people, and I think that would have helped it a little bit more for me, but I think the Grizzlies West is still really beautiful. I just think the snow gets a little bit too much at points, and especially when I'm going all the way up there to like Lake Isabella or Barrow Lagoon. It's just really hard to get through all the snow, and the snow gets a little bit boring after a while. So I don't think it's that amazing, but I still think it's a very beautiful area. Of course, you do finish off Mica here, so I mean, of course, everyone loves that. Mount Hagen is pretty cool, and I just think it's cool for like the flora and fauna here, especially the fauna, like the grizzlies and the elk and all that. But I don't think there's anything else interesting enough here to put it any higher than B tier. In 5th place, I've got Scarlett Meadows. I think it's a nice mix between like the New Hanover area and the actual Lemoyne area, and it's not super Lemoyne or New Hanover. It's just kind of a nice mix in between. I think it has to be up here just because of how good Rhodes is. Rhodes is a really cool area, and this also contains Braithwaite Manor, which I think, is always one of the cooler places to go. Braithwaite Manor is one of my more favorite places. This is also an area that contains Shady Belle and your second camp, Clement Point. So I think that also has to boost it up a little bit, as those are two of my more favorite areas to go. So I just think overall, Scarlett Meadows is really cool, and it has to be one of the higher tiers just because of how much goes on in this area. So I'm going to put it in A tier just because there's so much that goes on in this area, and there's some nice geography at least. In 4th place, I've got the Grizzlies East. I love the Grizzlies East. I think this is the most beautiful area in the entire game. There's these geysers, this kind of this Yellowstone-y vibe, and then there's also these big mountains by the Wapiti Reservation. I just think everything in this side looks really beautiful. It's beautiful, but you don't have to go through snow and all that, which just makes it even better for me. I just think this area is also just really, really amazing, especially with the Yellowstone area. There's also like a faux Mount Rushmore area where it's like there's a face in the cliff, but it's not really Mount Rushmore, but it's clearly taking inspiration from Mount Rushmore. So I think that's really cool. And I just think this area really just shows how beautiful Red Dead Redemption 2 is as a whole. And while there's not really that much going on here, so it has to take it down a little bit, there's some cool things like O'Cray's Run, and you can meet Hamish there. There's the Wapiti Indian Reservation, which I feel like all these things make it a lot better than the Grizzlies West, and I think the lack of snow also just pushes it even higher for that. So there's a lot of cool things going on here, and just a really, really beautiful area. So I'm also going to have to put it in A tier. In 3rd place, I've got Bayou Nwa. I think Bayou Nwa has to be the most action-packed area. There's Caligula Hall, there's Saint Denis, there's Le Gras, there's Laquais, there's Shady Belle. There's just too much going on here where it's like it has to go super high up. And I think even though a lot of people don't like Saint Denis or don't like the swamp, which I don't like both, there's just too much going on here where it can't be in a high tier. There's too many interesting things going on here. And with the swamp being its own cool area, Saint Denis being its own cool like city area, and like the area around Shady Belle and Caligula Hall, all being their own interesting areas, I feel like it has to be super high up here. I think there's a lot of just really interesting places to go explore and do all that. I think it's also a very big county compared to the rest of them. So I don't know. There's just too much going on here where it has to be super high in this tier list. I think it's going to go number 3, also an A tier, but it's just a really, really action-packed area where you have to go to all the time, even though the geography is not as great as some of these other ones. In second place, I've got Big Valley. I love that you can play as a big game hunter here. I think it's just so beautiful as well in the valley. You can see the beautiful mountains behind it. There's a nice creek running through the middle, and I just love the flowers everywhere. Big Valley in general is really beautiful. Mount Sean is beautiful. I think it's just one of the most beautiful areas in the entire map. Strawberry is also a pretty cool city. I feel like Strawberry definitely helps Big Valley be a lot better. And I think just one of the biggest provinces or counties in the entire game. So it's really cool. And I just think it's really cool in general. I think the Sierra Nevada vibe here is really cool. I mean, I've been to Sierra Nevada before, and while it does look like this in a little bit, I think it just works so much better in Red Dead Redemption 2 as a game where you can kind of explore everything on your own. And I think there's also a lot of hidden secrets here, so it's also really cool. Just overall in general, Big Valley is a great area, and I think it has to be an S tier county in Red Dead Redemption 2. In first place, it has to be the Heartlands. I think the Heartlands is one of the best areas to be. I love the geography here. It's all really flat, and it's like really fun to just use your horse and just ride around here. And I think just all the stuff that's going on here, you got Valentine, you've got Emerald Ranch, you got the Cornwall area, and I just think there's too much going on here that it's definitely my favorite area in the entire game. Valentine is one of my favorite cities. Emerald Ranch is also really cool, even though they could have done a lot more with Emerald Ranch. And I just think overall the Heartlands has so much packed in there. There's Cornwall, there's Horseshoe Overlook, there's Limpany, which is a town that's gone out. There's the oil fields. There's just so much going on here and so action packed, while I also love the geography here. So it just works well with the geography and the actual like action here. So I think it just all works together to be the top town or the top county in all of the game. I just love this place so much, and I think I love the just plains vibe of it throughout the entire time. And then on the west side, you have things like Citadel Rock, which are really just beautiful areas in general. So I don't know, this one has to go S tier. It's the best county in all of Red Dead Redemption 2. So that wraps up my Red Dead Redemption 2 counties tier list. If you guys would change anything, comment it down below in the comment section. I'll debate with you. If you guys do like videos like this, please like and subscribe, as we'll be putting out a lot more tier lists like this every single day.